And my daughters named him that. Anybody know Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy from Pride and Prejudice? That's where his name came from. He's a very brooding, moody dog. So here's a picture of Mr. Fitz. You can see him. He's a cute one, and that's how he gets away with the things that he gets away with. Because you look at him, you think, you are lucky you're cute. Because, so he's also just a tad neurotic. So many of you who have dogs have probably seen some characteristics that you're like, what are you doing? So we have wood floors throughout our house, and so for a dog running, they don't get the traction that they need. So you know how the cartoon dogs, their legs just go and go and go and go, and they don't get anywhere? That's kind of how he is. So he'll run throughout the house and not get a whole lot of traction. And then he'll slide and he'll hit a wall, or he'll just fall down. So he had one place in particular on our floor that he must have fallen or had an accident that hurt him a little bit. He was fine, we never saw any injury, but he got afraid of that spot. So, for instance, this spot on the floor right here, he got to where he could not walk across this spot. And it was right outside our bedroom door. And so he would just sit there and look at us like, well, aren't you going to come pick me up and take me over this spot on the floor that is obviously very, very dangerous, and you should fix it, even though our entire house is the same. This one spot really got into his head. And in dog vision, I could just see what this must have looked like to him. It wasn't just wood floor anymore. It was a gaping hole that went through stories and stories, and fire burst out over it, and there's no way he could possibly get through that spot. So we were determined not to enable the dog by picking him up and carrying it over. So if you want to see it, I shot a little video so you can see what it looks like when Mr. Fitz is sitting. So he's just standing there looking at us like, come on, and he'll take a step. Come on. Go back. We tried really hard to coax him out. He wouldn't do it. So we went through that for a very long time, off and on. And finally, he figured something out so that he could get across that spot. And it was shocking when we saw it, but this is what he did. He didn't want to walk across the spot. He wouldn't go like this. So eventually he did this. He turned around and walked backwards. Right across that spot, and then it was no problem. So he does this often. You want to see it? Yeah. All right. It's hard to get the video because if you know he's watching, or if he knows you're watching, he doesn't like you to see. So here it is. Well, we'll show you if you don't believe me. So there it is. right past it. He just has to get backwards all the way past, and then he's fine. And he can get through.
That is great.
So that crazy little dog really made me think about something, and I think that we are very often like that. That if we have a problem in front of us, that God would help us walk right over if we would give it to Him. Or that we could help someone else across. Instead of seeing that as a problem, that we could be a part of the solution. Instead, we turn our back to it, and we go on across like it's not there. So that's the kind of Christian that I don't want to be. I don't want to turn my back on a problem and pretend like the problem doesn't exist, and then just go on with life because I've moved past it. But there's still a problem back here that I've turned my back on. I met a woman not too long ago. Her name is Edith, and one day she sent her daughters outside to do some chores. And before long, she heard yelling outside and screaming. She saw people running, and she went outside, running out. And at that point, one of her daughters was gone. And and she lost that daughter to a terrible, terrible death. Something as simple as sending her daughter outside to do chores, and her daughter never came back. And it all came down to this clean, fresh, safe water that she did not have access to. So the chore that she sent her daughters out to do was to fetch water. Now, the reason I tell you the story the way I do is because we need to relate to the pain of a mother who loses a daughter in such a terrible, shocking fashion so quickly. And I know some of you have probably experienced that kind of loss. But we have this water, and I've been carrying this around and drinking water bottles all day, and we totally take it for granted. But I didn't have to send my daughters out to a dangerous place to get this water that many people around the world do. So Edith lost her 10-year-old daughter, who went down to the Zambezi River to get water, to a crocodile who took her life. It's so shocking, and it seems so foreign to us, but it's not. It's a real situation that many, many people around the world are facing because they don't have access to this. So what we at Hand of Hope are able to do, and we're so grateful that you are part of it with your gifts and with your prayers, is we are able to dig freshwater wells in so many places all over the world. In Africa, in India, in different places throughout the world, where we are providing wells where the water is not only safe from the dangers that happen, especially to girls, because they're usually the ones who go gather it, like wild animals, like poisonous snake bites, like abuse that happens at the hands of people so often. It's very dangerous. We're able to provide that clean water, and we're able to provide water that doesn't give them illnesses that also take their life. Dysentery, cholera, terrible, terrible illnesses that come from the water that they had to go walk to. When we build these wells, very often we're able to plant a church right there at the well. So instead of going to the dangerous water, they're going to the water of life. They're meeting the pastor and the people of this church. They're hearing the gospel, and their entire lives are changing, physically and spiritually. So that is very exciting and very great to be part of it. So I told you about Edith. We were able to dig a well in Edith's village. And Edith, as I said, has more than one daughter. So I want you to meet Angela now. We have a picture of Angela. Angela is about the same age that her sister was when she lost her life to the crocodile. But Angela is able to go to that well that you see behind us in safety and in joy and in comfort and get the water that she needs for her family. And their lives are completely changed. And her mother, Edith, is so grateful, and she said, thank you, thank you, thank you. She's a part of a Sunday school program that we're able to do for kids now. And it just is amazing to me how something as simple as providing clean water can change an eternity for many people and for a village. So in our offering today, our final offering of this weekend, and we thank you so much for your generosity, for your love, and for your prayers, and for your support throughout this weekend, and for being here with us. Today we are going to ask you to give, and 100% of what you give will go toward providing wells and fresh, clean water for people around the world. Would you like to be a part of that? I know it's been a wonderful blessing. It's been a wonderful blessing for us to see. So I ask you to pray about it. We're going to show you a little video that will give you the chance to see these wells firsthand. And then Pastor Mike will tell you more about how you can give.
We all need clean, drinkable water, not just for convenience, but for life itself. But many people simply do not have access. Billions of people around the world, in fact. For nearly 3 decades, Joyce Meyer Ministries' outreach arm Hand of Hope has drilled water wells around the world so that people can not only survive, but also improve their daily quality of life. Along with the help of our friends and partners, Hand of Hope has water projects in over 30 countries, and this year celebrates our 1,000th water well. Over half of these well sites are part of our Well of Life initiative.